Come to dinner in 1 minute. Just 1 minute. I'm rolling right now. Yes, I'm on camera. Right here. Alright. There's one day in the calendar that I absolutely hate, and that is November 1st. It's the day after Halloween, when all my Halloween decorations are banished to the basement or to the attic, and everything like this gets replaced with stuff like this. So I decided to infiltrate Christmas and make my own scary projects to infiltrate my wife's Christmas tree and all her little decorations. So today's tutorial is for this. Can I have that? Thank you, Sammy. This is today's tutorial, and it's just a horrornament. Horrornament. You know, horror and ornament put together into one. And it's just a plain old ornament that has been corpsed and has an eye. Very realistic eye. And we're going to put this in the Christmas tree. So stick with me. Let's go to the studio and we can get started with this. Yes, honey, I'm coming. For this tutorial, we need just a few things. The most important is a ornament. This is a foam ornament. They sell them blank like that. You can use any ornament. If you cannot find one, I have a link in my website where you can get this. Gonna need some paints. Acrylic paints will work. A piece of string. That's just to replace this fancy string. Some toilet paper. Something with no design on it. So the cheapest, the better. If you can get prison toilet paper or any other institutional type, that's what you need. We're going to need an eye. And there's a tutorial for this, and the link is down in the description. We're going to need some glue, school glue, some black latex, and that's about it. So let's get started. The first step is to take the eye and place it where you want it, and I'm going to mark around it with a pen, just lightly, just so I know where the eye goes. Now, since this eye will be sticking out too much if I leave it like that, I'm going to recess it into the ornament. It also helps with the balance when you hang the ornament, so it doesn't hang lopsided as you push the weight back into the ornament. I'm going to recess it probably till about right there. So that's about 1/4 inch. There you go. That's sitting a little bit more flush in the ornament, so that is perfect. For the next step, I'm just going to glue the eye into the ornament. There you go. Now we can start corpsing or ornament. So I have a little bit of water in here, in this shot glass, and I'm just going to add some school glue. We're going to go about 1 part water and 1 part glue. We're going to stir it real well. As you can see, I found a little roll of duct tape to hold my ornament while we corpse it. This will make life easier, since this thing tends to roll all over the table. Now we get our trusty cheap toilet paper, and we'll start cutting it into strips. Try not to have any straight edges, since those tend to show when you corpse your ornament. To start corpsing, I'm just going to remove this little cap off the top. We'll glue it back in when we're done. And all we're going to do is take the glue and water mixture and apply a little bit where you want it corpsed. And then you're just going to drop a little piece of your ripped toilet paper on top. And then you're going to cover it with more of the paste. Remember, the more wrinkled it turns out, the better it will look at the end. After every layer, we're going to let it dry thoroughly before continuing with the next one. Okay, after the few layers are dry, we're going to continue corpsing, but I know you've been waiting for this. Let's do some eyelids on this thing and see how they turn out. This kind of makes me nervous, but let's do it. What I'm going to try and do here is to get a clean edge on the top of the eyelid. Is I'm going to fold the piece of toilet paper and I'm going to lay it like that over the eye. Alright, that wasn't so bad. Now we're just going to feather this on the eye with the brush and a little bit more mix. And it kind of disappears, so I guess we're going to have to reinforce it a little bit more. Now keep in mind we're going to paint over this toilet paper right here so it won't be see-through like you're seeing it now. I'm going to do the same for the bottom and then we're going to let it dry and see how it turns out so we can decide whether it needs more toilet paper or not. We are going to let this dry. It's looking pretty creepy. And then we'll put another coat and we'll put as many as we need to make all the wrinkles we want and to cover some of the straight lines. So I'm going to let this dry and I'll meet you in 1 second. You can always put this in front of a fan or use your hair dryer. This layer is now dry to a touch. It only took about 20 minutes in front of a fan. I'm going to put another layer just to make the eyelids a little bit thicker and to get rid of some of the edges. This corpsing is now nice and dry. So the next step is to coat it in black latex. This is optional, but I like how the latex gives it a protective cover that is kind of rubbery. So this black exterior latex is also a good start for dry brushing because I start with a dark color and go towards the light one. So this will be a good base. The other thing I did is I put a skewer, a bamboo skewer where the ornament holder goes just so I can hold it while I paint it and I don't get my hands all painted. So let's paint this and then let it dry. Well, there you go. This ornament is now coated in a nice coat of latex. If it's getting too thick where it's hiding all the wrinkles and details, just brush over it gently to thin it out, but try to keep your wrinkles. In the next step, which is the dry brushing, we'll have all the detail jump out at us. So I'm going to let this dry and I'll see you in 1 minute. Now that this is nice and dry, we're going to start with the dry brushing. For this first coat, I'm going to use some browns and some greens. So it's going to be more of a monster look rather than a pink human look. This first coat is going to be pretty generous and I'm just going to brush it right into the latex. I'm not going to push it all the way in the details because I want to retain some of that black in the background, but for the most part I am covering about 90% of the ornament with this green paint. There is the first coat. It's a rich brown and green. Right now it's still kind of shiny because it's still wet, but you can see the color variation. This first coat is dry, so now we're going to go with the next shade lighter, and I'm using just a combination of yellow ochre and some very reddish brown. There's going to be our mid-tone. These are not our highlights, but just to lighten this up a bit. And for this dry brushing, I'm going to take most of the color off my brush and then just gently rub it all over. You can see some of the wrinkles start coming out right away. See it? There you go. That is our second coat. As you can see, that is bringing all the detail that we worked with the tissue, all the wrinkles. See if I can get the camera to focus, and you can see the details. So the next step in this will be the highlights, and I'm just going to use white and green for the highlights. And just like this, a very light brush to catch only the high points. So this green is what I'm going to use for the highlights. It's mostly white, a little bit of green, and a touch of yellow. So our dry brushing is done. Now for touch-up, I'm going to use some clear nail polish all over the eyeball, and then some red nail polish on all these edges and on the corners here of the eyes. One tip I have for you is when you use the nail polish, if the brush in here is a little too thick, just use a toothpick. That's what I use, and it works wonders to get into these tiny little crevices here surrounding the eye. Okay, while this dries, I'm going to take this hanger thingy, I'm going to replace it with some rope, and I'm going to paint this black with some black nail polish. For this final step, I'm taking some water, putting a little bit of Mod Podge in it, just about half and half, to give it to dilute it a little bit and get a glaze going over this guy to make it a little bit shinier. Now, to give it an antique stain look, I'm going to add a drop of green, a drop of red, and probably a drop of yellow of food coloring. Food coloring is clear, so it just will make a very light stain here. I'm going to dab this carefully all over the ornament so that it gives us a little shiny finish. Don't rub it because it'll rub the color off. This will dry clear, so let's give it a few minutes to dry, and then we go to the final steps. This is now dry and nice and shiny. That's what the glue and the stain does. It gives it a little bit older look, plus it gives it a little shine. That is pretty cool. So everything's dry and ready, so all we need to do is attach the ornament hanging thing. So just carefully remove your bamboo skewer, and all I'm going to do is put a dab of hot glue here on the edge, like that, and I'm going to put some here on this thing that goes in the ornament. I'm going to hold that there to dry. And our Horrornament or horror ornament is ready. There you go.